Meanwhile, there is this. President Trump keeping the Iran conflict in focus, of course, telling reporters yesterday operations will end quickly while explaining why he paused further strikes on Tehran this week. Watch.
How long did they know that you were planning the Gulf region?
They knew I was getting ready to attack. I didn't tell them. I'd never tell anybody when. But they knew that we were very close. I would say I was an hour away from making the decision to go. So they called up. They had heard I made the decision. They said, sir, could you give us a couple of more days? Because we think they're being reasonable. And I'm saying 2 or 3 days, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, something, maybe early next week, a limited period of time. Because we can't let them have a nuclear weapon. If they had a nuclear weapon, they would start with Israel. They'd go after Saudi Arabia. They'd go after Kuwait. They'd go after UAE. They'd go after Qatar. I think they go after the entire Middle East. And it would be a whole different negotiation.
Yesterday, Vice President J.D. Vance told White House reporters the U.S. remains, quote, locked and loaded for any word from the president to strike Iran, while he says talks are making progress. Well, we're watching this. Elsewhere in the region, the U.S. reportedly seized an Iran-linked tanker in the Indian Ocean that shipped sanctioned oil back by the U.S. back in March. NATO's top commander, General Alexis Grin-Coutich, also saying that NATO is not considering deploying ships to protect the Gulf region. Joining me now is Ambassador to NATO, Matthew Whitaker. Ambassador, it's great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here. And, of course, there's questions around what the U.S. does next with regard to Iran. But we want to know where NATO stands in all of this. How do you see things?
Well, I see several things. First of all, our military has been extraordinary, completing all the objectives they laid out. Iran has significantly diminished, but President Trump is right that they cannot have a nuclear weapon, and he's going to make the best deal for the American people that he can in that situation, but always reserve the right, if a deal can't be made on our terms, that ultimately kinetic force could be used again. NATO obviously is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization and has a limited geography. And in this case, we will have probably a lot of allies and partners that are going to be involved in supporting the United States in a freedom of navigation operation when that's appropriate. And that is being coordinated certainly outside of what we do here at NATO day to day. But, we're heading into a big moment in NATO history, Maria. As you know, Friday we have Marco Rubio in Sweden at the foreign ministerial meeting. We then will have Pete Hegseth here in Brussels in June, and then we're heading to the NATO summit in early July in Turkey. And it's the next 3 months are not only going to be very active, but are going to be dealing with all these issues, including Iran. Yeah,
and these meetings will be really closely watched, as tomorrow is the first day of the NATO foreign ministers meeting. And in Sweden, Secretary of State Marco Rubio arrives on Friday to discuss economic and national security with the Arctic 7. NATO leaders reportedly concerned over the U.S.'s plans to draw down troops in the region at this moment. Poland, according to reports, wants honest talks with the U.S. over the halting of a planned rotation of Army soldiers to the country. And General Grin-Coutich also told leaders to expect less American presence overseas over time. So, Ambassador, is this a sort of overseeing, the talks, given the fact that we're just coming off of this period where President Trump was pretty clear and adamant that, the relations are different after Iran and after the lack of support there?
Yeah, certainly on the removal of troops from Europe, we're always looking at how we're deployed across the globe and acting in the U.S. interests. While Sackyer is a Air Force 4-star general, difficult last name, I call him Grinch because it's much easier to pronounce. But
tell me how to say it.
He has been very clear. He was very clear at the Chief of Defense summit yesterday that the United States is pulling 5,000 troops out of Europe, that we expect our allies to backfill and be more capable. That's really the transition. We set out when President Trump was reelected and when I was confirmed by the Senate and came over here to Brussels, we set out to have our NATO allies take over the conventional defense of Europe and the continent and to replace the U.S. capabilities. And that's the project we're on. And so the United States, obviously, we're going to act in our interests. We are also going to make sure, and through SACEUR, that Europe is not strategically vulnerable. And so that whether that's backfilling with German armored brigades or whether that is infantry troops that Poland can generate or other capabilities, we're going to orderly and in a structured manner do all of these transitions to our European allies. And I know that makes some people nervous, especially in the media, because they don't understand what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. But just know, and I make sure our allies know that the United States, we're still going to be here. But at the same time, we're expecting them to take over conventional defense.
Understood. And of course, Ambassador, this morning, NATO's chief, Mark Rutte, said that the alliance needs to move away from a, quote, unhealthy reliance on one ally. So, it's comments like that where, people speculate, well, the alliance has become frayed.
Yeah, for 77 years, this has been the U.S. providing security for Europe, has been spending a lot of money. President Trump has quantified it as hundreds of billions of dollars, and it's probably true. And Dwight Eisenhower said that if we were still in Europe 10 years later, and this is in the 50s, that the experiment of NATO had failed. And so I think ultimately what we're going to do is President Trump has provided the clear commander's intent of Europe taking over the conventional defense. We got the 5% commitment in The Hague, and we are now going to make this a reality. And I think for the first time, our allies are with clear eyes seeing what the United States is doing. We're communicating every step of the way to make sure that we don't create strategic vulnerabilities for the alliance. But we're clear. The United States is clear. The American people have borne the burden for too long. European taxpayers need to take it over. And that's what we're doing right now.
Well, that 5% was an incredible move. The president obviously behind getting everybody to spend more on defense. Big couple of days for you. Ambassador, great to see you. Thank you so much. Matthew Whitaker this morning.
Yes, good to see you, Maria. Thank you.
We'll see you soon. Stay with us. We'll be right back.